Hey everybody, welcome back to Let's Talk. My name is John, and today we're going to be talking about the 1985 Dario Argento directed Phenomena. And we're also going to be talking about its brand new 4K Blu-ray that just came out from SYNAPSE Films. But first, before we dive into all that, if you are a fan of 4K Blu-ray reviews, movie reviews, some tech and game reviews along the way, and now we do podcasts, if you are into all that, then this is the channel for you, and nothing helps this channel out more than by you liking this video and subscribing to the channel. So Phenomena is a 1985 Dario Argento directed supernatural horror film that stars Jennifer Connelly. And I believe this is the first time on the channel we've talked about Dario Argento. He is an Italian director. He's most known for making giallo horror films, you know, that Italian horror films that are very colorful, art style, they're very visually stunning. You know, they always usually have great scores. This is the guy who brought us Suspiria and Deep Red, which are two films that I'm fans of, but I am not the biggest giallo horror fan. As far as giallo horror goes, the most I've ever really even dived into is Dario Argento's films, and that's only a few of them. It's really surface level. Matt's the horror guy here on the channel. I'm more like, you know, I like horror. I'm a big fan of horror. I have a ton of horror 4Ks and Blu-rays, but it's not my favorite genre. I'd rather watch a drama film, you know, really something that really makes me think. Not that horror can't do that. Like films like Hereditary, like more recent horror films, really, I think, have crossed over, and that's why they're known as elevated horror. And those really do appeal to me more than like something like this, because this, despite being one of the best looking films that I have ever seen and has one of the best scores that I have ever seen, the screenplay and the script for this, you know, they leave a lot to be desired, especially in the acting category. Now, this film does feature some great actors like Jennifer Connelly, who we still see popping up today. It still looks incredible, and you got all-time great actors in here like Donald Pleasence, and then everybody else in here. You know, this is a film that is made by Dario Argento that crossed over to the US and UK. Really, he makes Italian films. This film itself takes place in Switzerland. Jennifer Connelly plays the daughter of a famous actor in the United States, and actually, Dario Argento wanted to use Al Pacino in this, but he really didn't appreciate that, so they put the kibosh on the daughter being that of Al Pacino, but that was the original plan. He just didn't appreciate that. When she gets there, discovers that there is a serial killer, and she also has a connection with bugs, like a telepathic connection with bugs. And she's using these bugs to help her solve these murders. At one point in this film, she follows a little bug that they actually had a little trick where they put a string around the bug, and that's how Jennifer Connelly was able to find the lair. Luckily for her, Donald Pleasence's character, he knows insects. He knows all about they go to him to solve these murders because he can use the bugs and how long the bugs have been breaking down, the decay of the bodies and everything. He can look into, like, you know, the larvas and all that stuff, all that gross stuff. I am disgusted by bugs. So this film was actually a little tough for me because bugs gross me out. Bugs are actually one of my biggest fears. I think I've said this before. Like, usually I don't get scared by stuff, but I get really skeeved out, and one of those things is bugs. So this movie was a little tough. There's a bunch of scenes of decaying bodies with just, you know, disgusting bugs all over, just a head that they do a lot of close-ups. Look amazing in 4K, by the way, but I felt my stomach turning. It was hard for me to pay attention to those scenes, and there is a lot of that because, like I said, Jennifer Connelly, she can control bugs. She has this connection with bugs. They protect her. There's that famous scene that's on the cover where their hair blowing and they got the light underneath. You know, that's right after she basically summons all these
I love you. I love you all.
bugs to attack the windows and everything and really freak out all these girls who were bullying her. A real Carrie-like situation. And then in this film, on top of that, that she's trying to solve this serial killer murder, these murders that are happening in this boarding school that she's at, around this boarding school. Her and Donald Pleasence, they're all trying to solve these murders. And then, you know what? Who ends up saving the day? This is a spoiler alert, but I have to bring this up. Spoiler for the ending. Who ends up saving the day? But a monkey. Donald Pleasence's monkey is the one who finally, in the very end, kills our killer, who just at that very moment had beheaded the guy who was there to save Jennifer Connelly's character. But nope, the monkey sneaks up behind her with a straight razor, and in this scene when they were shooting it, that monkey was apparently one of the hardest monkeys to direct. You know, he wasn't playing ball. He wasn't having a good time. He was in the film Bingo Bongo, I believe they said it was called, and he bit off a part of Jennifer Connelly's finger. He swung that straight blade, even though it was dull, at that actress that was there. You know, he was really hard to work with. They lost him for a few days. You know, that's what they say. Don't work with animals. You know, they're their own breed. you can't just control him even if you want to. So apparently he was really hard to work with. But in this film, he ends up saving the day. He gets his face put on the cover of this. You know, he's a big part of the film. And like I said, this film, the screenplay and the story, they just did not work for me at all. Like, I can't say that there was any performances in here that stood out. I mean, I guess Donald Pleasance was trying, and he's used to this. He's worked in a lot of bad Halloween films, so I guess he's used to trying to make the most out of it. Jennifer Connelly, I don't know. I didn't think she was great. All the other actors and actresses, you know, a lot of them have their lines, it sounds like dubbed, because I guess, you know, they're using a lot of Italian actors that Dario Argento has worked with in the past, so it sounds very dubbed, even though there's tracks in here you can listen to in Italian, English, hybrid tracks that are on this 4K disc, which we'll get to in a little while. Everything still just sounded like, you know, all the line deliveries, maybe it's just the language barriers. There's moments where, like, I'm supposed to be feeling scared and I'm just laughing at the line delivery. It just doesn't work at all. You know, this story, like, I mean, it's a little bit messy just from beginning to end, the plot. Like, I mean, it makes sense, I guess, but the way we get there, it just feels very unorganized. It doesn't feel very focused. I mean, I get that Dario Argento is more of a visual storyteller than he is a vocal storyteller, so this movie is one of the best looking films I have ever seen. I can just watch this film just for the cinematography and the visuals in general, because that's what Dario Argento does best. This movie is gorgeous. I saw some people saying that they didn't think that this looked as good as, like, Suspiria. I mean, it's different. It doesn't have that same visual tone that Suspiria has, but on its own, I think it stood out. I thought it was beautiful. The score in this is amazing. I'm a big fan of 80s synth scores, and this is perfect. Also, they feature a lot of licensed music, including from Iron Maiden, so this feels like an 80s film. So it's something that I can just be entertained by just because of the score, the visuals, the music choices that are throughout. All that stuff works for me amazingly. I could just watch this film, and I will watch this film again just for that. But the plot and the story and the acting, that stuff all just falls flat for me. So overall, from a film standpoint, this film doesn't work entirely for me. I still think it's pretty damn good, and I'm sure that there's people who love this film and don't appreciate me saying these things about it. But if I'm being 100% honest, I thought this film was extremely flawed, despite having some of the best visuals I have ever seen on film, and despite having one of the best scores I have ever heard. Those are stuff that, like, appeal to me personally, whereas the acting and the actors, I mean, I guess they're all trying, it didn't work. The plot itself, like, it comes off super cheesy, which I love, but at times they're trying to have this very, you know, serious tone in it, and I just feel like the balance isn't there. Like, are you trying to be cheesy? Are you unintentionally trying to be cheesy? It was just hard for me to understand, and it would take me out of it trying to understand exactly what's going on. I actually, because this film has 3 cuts, I watched this film twice, trying just to, you know, get a grasp on the thought process that was going into it, but it's really tough for me to understand exactly what they were going for, but it just didn't click 100% with me. But like I said, the visuals and the score, the cinematography, you know, all that stuff is phenomenal, but don't expect to watch this for the acting, because you're going to be very disappointed by that. But if you are a fan of Phenomenon, you probably already knew that, and you're wondering about this 4K Blu-ray that just came out. This is the new 4K Blu-ray that just came out here in the US from SYNAPSE Films, and if you have a previous Arrow 4K Blu-ray of this, it is the exact same thing. I believe that these discs in here are just Arrow discs. There is nothing different about it. So if you have that previous 4K release that Arrow Video put out, that's all this is. There is nothing new added, nothing taken away. Everything that you have on those previous releases, including all 3 cuts, are all in this package. This is a 2-disc set. It features all 3 cuts, but all of this was already previously released by Arrow Video. So if you have that, there is absolutely no reason for you to even consider upgrading. You already have what's in this package. This is really just for the US. From what I understand, SYNAPSE Films has the rights here in the US. They released a previous Blu-ray for this. So I guess what happens is, you know, Arrow gives them everything that they have. SYNAPSE prints everything onto discs, and then they do the, you know, the disc design, the packaging, and then they distribute it here in the US. But there is almost no difference. Arrow Video's fingerprints are all over this, right down to the fact if you read the back of the box, it tells you that Arrow did the scan. There's a new 2-hour documentary on here. Arrow Video did that documentary for their 4K release. So it's really just Arrow Video's thing that SYNAPSE Films is distributing here in the US. So if you're a fan of Phenomenon and you want to see a new cut of this, that doesn't exist. This is just Arrow Video's previous release that we get here in the United States. Just want to be clear with that right off the top, because this, if you've seen previous reviews of this, it's the exact same thing. This is just me getting my hands on it for the first time, and it's my first Dario Argento owned film. I don't own Deep Red or Suspiria on 4K, which I'm very disappointed to say, because like I said, from a visual standpoint, my God, Phenomena is one of the best looking 4Ks I've ever seen. I don't want to like go too far out of the into the weeds yet, but my God, that's one thing about Dario Argento is his visuals. Like, I was knocking the plot and the story to this film, but I can't say a bad thing about the visuals. And this 4K, being transferred to 4K, was incredible. I mean, some of the effects in here, I was watching them, they were very similar to the film Zombie, which is also an Italian horror film. And the close-ups that they get, because of the 4K format, and we get the works here. We got Dolby Vision and HDR10. I compared them. It's on all 3 cuts of this, because there are 3 cuts of this in here. You get the original cut, which is the Italian cut. You get the international cut, and you get the Creepers cut, which is the one that was released originally here in the United States and the United Kingdom. Everybody else got a 116-minute cut, and now there's a 110-minute international cut that I think is the definitive cut, I guess, because it just shaves 6 minutes off of the beginning and the ends of scenes. They don't cut out scenes or add scenes like that Creepers cut does, which I think is probably the most inferior cut at this point, because it was just shortened for American and UK audiences. But now I believe like either the international or the Italian cut is the way to go. All 3 look stunning. There's scenes in there's a scene in a pool towards the end, kind of like Poltergeist, and that visually, my mouth was open. There's a close-up of a bug. I mean, I'm telling you, the HDR, the Dolby Vision, it just looked phenomenal. I mean, the blacks were so incredibly deep. A lot of this film takes place at night. You know, we get fireflies, so you get the little glow of the fireflies just pops off your screen. You know, that famous scene that you see on the cover where Jennifer Connelly's hair is just blowing in the wind. That's another thing I didn't bring up. The amount of wind going on around here. I mean, it looks incredible on screen. Again, the choices that Dario Argento makes visually, I can't compete with that. It looks incredible. It's beautiful. I have no knocks against how good this looked, and if transferring to the 4K format, it's a 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5. Just a beautiful 4K transfer. It's one of the best I've ever seen visually. Argento's films usually transfer really well to the 4K format. I haven't seen Deep Red and I haven't seen Suspiria's 4Ks yet, but from what I understand, they're just another one where they have transferred so well to the 4K format. And if they look anything like this, I'm just proud to just own this for the fact that I could see this visually. It's a showpiece, something you could show people. Now, as great as those visuals are, the audio, there is a ton of audio tracks on here. Like I said, you get the original cut, which features a English-Italian hybrid, but you can watch it in just Italian if you'd like. Then you got the international cut, which you probably more than likely are going to watch in English. And then you have that Creepers cut, and they all have different mixes and different tracks for them. So you got to be careful which one you pick. I originally, on my first watch through, I watched the international cut with a DTS HD 5.1 on it, and that was in English. And I thought it was not the greatest. Now, again, I feel like when they were making this, a lot of stuff they ADR'd a lot of stuff. So a lot of the audio issues are definitely source material issues, because the issues carry over through every single cut of the film. There's some echo effects. There's times when the dialogue just sounds like, because I feel like it's ADR'd, it overwhelms the scene. It almost has that like 70s feeling where the dialogue is just louder than everything else. It just sounds like it was recorded in a studio, so it doesn't create that natural effect. And you have this problem throughout all 3 4Ks. Now, the background stuff, all that stuff sounded good. I don't have any complaints about that. The music was all crisp and clear. You start to feel it. You feel it building up in you. It helps to build the tension in certain scenes. You hear Iron Maiden playing through your speakers. That always sounds good. They definitely made great use of my speakers with that. This international cut, but like I said, every single cut of this film has their own audio tracks. All of them suffer, I think, from the same issues as far as the dialogue goes. I mean, they're all very comparable to each other, but it's really going to come down to personal preference. Do you like to watch this with subtitles? Do you want to hear it all in English? Do you want that hybrid track? It's really going to come down to you. I don't think any of them are the greatest of tracks. I thought all the audio was, Anything that they suffered from, I felt like was a source material issue. I didn't feel like it was anything to do with Arrow Video's transfer of this to 4K. I feel like they did the best they possibly could. You know, there's a bunch of different cuts of this film. I'm sure this was a lot of work for Arrow Video. I'm almost positive that they did the best they possibly could with these audio tracks. I'm sure that there was a lot of holes that they tried to fill that it's just impossible. I'm going to guess that this is probably the best we're going to get of these films audio-wise. You know, maybe down the line we get some new tech and we can somehow get rid of those echo effects that we hear throughout, but, you know, I wouldn't count on it. You know, obviously compared to what they did to the visuals, it feels like a step down, but I don't think it's Arrow Video's fault. I just think it's the fault of the source material. I still think that overall, visuals and audio-wise, just a phenomenal package. And then let's not forget about the extras. Now, there's extras on both discs, and like I said, this includes a full 2-hour feature-length documentary. I'm always going to give the extras a passing grade if you could do that, because that's just speaking to me. Personally, I love look-backs on the making of the film, what people had to go through making this film, everyone's mindset going into the film, while they're filming, looking back on the film. I just eat all that shit up, and that's on that 2-hour documentary. But that's not the only stuff. There's 2 new audio commentary tracks. Well, actually, I should be clear. They're not new. They're previously released because of that Arrow Video release, but there are 2 of them. You know, one is going to be on disc 1, and then the other commentary track is going to be on disc 2. There's trailers. There's a bunch of little featurettes. There's plenty of extras. They did not hold back on the extras. It's not the most extras I've seen. It's not something in, like, you know, I always like to compare it to, like, I think Army of Dead that came out last year from Scream Factory is the pinnacle of extras. They really just went all out on the extras on that. Pretty much every extra ever released for that. And, you know, this is pretty close, I think, you know, having them on both discs, but if you would have had a 3rd disc of special features, maybe some new stuff, I think it would have pushed it over the top. But what we got here, I will not complain about. I'm very happy with the extras. They didn't spring for all the bells and whistles, but, you know, they put the electric windows on and you get a moonroof. So there's plenty here, and I was very happy with that. And I haven't shown you guys yet, and I was saving it for the end, because it's pretty standard stuff. I didn't really know Synapse Films actually released 4Ks. This was a surprise for me. So, you know, you go underneath, you get the same cover underneath. Now, their stats on the back are pretty plain. They don't look like, you know, the usual stuff we see. You get a nice cover underneath. And because I know you guys are all fans of this, you get reverse cover art underneath. Now, I don't know if any of this is new art. It just looks like an alternate art. But depending which way you want to go, you do get the reversible cover art underneath. So that's pretty cool. We always appreciate that here. Also, Synapse usually releases their catalog, I guess what they have available to you inside there. And if you go flipping through this, you're going to find some stuff. They also release some porn. So if you're into porn, Synapse Film has you covered. They make sure they promote that inside this book. And like I said, individual disc design, we always appreciate that here. I don't know if these look like the Arrow Video discs. I imagine everything else kind of seemed like Arrow Video throughout this entire set. The menu system was definitely Arrow Video's menu system. You know, even the Arrow Video logo pops up in a bunch of areas throughout the disc as you're playing the special features. So all I think Synapse did here was print those discs, print out the cover and the slip cover, and, you know, got the 4K packages together and distributed them. I think that's all Synapse did here. I don't think they touched the disc. I don't think this has anything to do with them other than distribution. This feels like Arrow Video's release through, and there's no problem with that. We here love Arrow Video. We just always seem to get caught in the red tape of distribution rights. That's why we can't always get their stuff here on 4K. You know, more recently, most famously, I guess, is The Wolf of Wall Street that we couldn't get here in the U.S., and I would have really liked that 4K compared to the U.S. release that we have, which is just pretty standard. Still good, but pretty standard. So overall, how do I grade this 4K release from Synapse Films? Well, I'm very happy with it. I didn't enjoy the film as much as I wanted to, but I can't knock the film itself because of my personal enjoyment for it. You know, this packaging is pretty damn good. The 4K visuals are stunning. That HDR10, that Dolby Vision all looks good. The audio tracks are probably the best they're ever going to be, and, you know, they're still not great, but they're good enough. They're passable. They did the best they could, I think. You know, you're going to have to deal with some echo issues, some ADR issues throughout, but, you know, it's understandable, I think. The extras are all awesome. If you haven't seen these and you're a fan of the film, you're going to be very happy that they are there. So overall, I'm very happy with this purchase. It will go into the rotation. It's not my favorite film, but visually, I am going to want to go back and check this out. So I'm going to still give this a really solid 8 out of 10. I think it's something, if you don't own this and you want to have in your collection, especially if you're an Argento fan and you live in the US, then you're going to be very happy that this finally came to 4K and we can recommend it. But Fridays here on the channel aren't just for 4K Blu-ray reviews, they're also for our digital code giveaway, and this Friday is no different, and that's what we're going to do right now. So every Friday, Matt or I will ask you 2 digital code giveaway questions. All you have to do is answer one of those questions in the comment section below. And if you did, you come back to Monday's video. In that video, I will put your name on a magic wheel. We spin that wheel 2 times, and then those 2 lucky winners have their choice of the digital codes that you have seen on your screen before you today. But what are this week's 2 digital code giveaway questions? Well, the big movie in theaters this week is Shazam. So I figured I'd ask you guys, what is your favorite DC film? Now, it doesn't have to be the DCEU. It could just be your favorite DC film ever. And there's some surprising films that are DC films out there. So do your research, and we can definitely find some great answers in there. So the first one is, what is your favorite DC film? And then I figured, you know what, this video is about an Italian horror film. I'd ask you guys, what is your favorite 80s horror film? So that's from 1980 to 1989. What is your favorite 80s horror film? It could be a slasher, it could be a supernatural horror film like this. It could be something I've never heard of. Something, I'm always looking for new movies. Matt's always looking for new movies. So hit us with your favorite 80s horror film. Let us know in the comments section below. And then if you did, make sure you come back to Monday's video to see if you're this week's lucky winner. And anyway, guys, if you want to keep supporting this channel, maybe you want to grab this Phenomena 4K Blu-ray from Amazon. We have an Amazon affiliate link. If you grab it through that, it costs you no extra money, but it really does help this channel out so we can keep making these reviews. Another thing that really helps this channel out is just by you liking this video, subscribing to the channel, searching for us on all podcast services, giving us a 5-star rating there, liking us there. And then after you're done doing all that, I want you to fly to Switzerland, find the nearest boarding school there, and then when you're there, tell everyone you can see and find about Let's Talk Entertainment and Media. And then after you're done doing all that, I just want you guys to go out and enjoy your day. We'll be seeing you around.